question about it. I am ready to get hurt again.
How's everybody? So today finally is the day we're talking about the very first episode of HBO's The Last of Us. This was probably one of my most anticipated anythings in a very long time, film or TV, just because I played that first game so many years ago on PS4, not PS3, and I just loved it. I fell in love with everything to do with this world and the franchise. In my opinion, I think this is one of the best video games of all time as well, and with this adaptation, I think it's just going to get even better, taking that story and putting it into a live-action format. Of course, as I have played both of the video games, I pretty much have an idea where the story inevitably is going to go, and we do have that track record most of the time where video game adaptations usually aren't the greatest. They have a pretty bad reputation, but even after this very first episode, I think that curse has been lifted for The Last of Us. Already, I'm just blown away by the sheer excellence on display The Last of Us is showcasing and how they've brought this world and story into the live-action format. It's extremely impressive. Where we've seen so many video game adaptations fail, I think this finally has nailed it. It was also really cool that we got to see a whole lot more of the beginning time before the outbreak, 20 years in the past, because we didn't spend a whole lot of time in that period in the games, and we're fleshing that out a little bit more, even if we do know the inevitable horrible outcome that comes. It was great to see more character development with Joel, Tommy, and Sarah. It's nice to see them have some happy moments, you know? It may have been a brief yet important role in The Last of Us, but I think Nico Parker did a great job as Sarah and getting you invested in her in such a short time. It was so sweet seeing her interactions with Joel and just the other things that we like as video game fans, like when she gives Joel the watch that we saw in the video games. What really helps the show, I think, is the fact that you have the creative team really caring about the source material. You have Neil Druckmann also helping you out here. So you see that sheer attention to detail in the very first episode when it comes to recreating things from the games accurately, but also adding a lot more layers and depth to them. The new touches and the added time with certain characters, I think really enhances everything. I'm not going to complain about adding new things to the material because I think that it's one of the best parts about this adaptation is adding in all of those things for the video game fans with all these characters, predominantly more time with Joel and Sarah. Much like the characters in the scene, I was on the edge of my seat watching Tommy, Joel, and Sarah try and get away from all of the chaos. It was very well done and very accurate. I'm gonna need to see a side-by-side of these scenes from the video game and the TV show just because it seems almost seamless. It felt like I was playing the video game again. Each and every single time I've ever replayed The Last of Us, I'm in shambles watching Joel lose his daughter, and that was the same way watching it again in the series. It's such a tragic, heartbreaking, emotional scene, and they both sell it so perfectly. I mean, Pedro Pascal is amazing. He deserves his flowers for this. This is probably the beginning of his Emmy for your consideration. We do have to talk about the cast, though. Going in, I already thought everybody was perfectly cast, and seeing this first episode already proved that point to me. Pedro Pascal, I love the guy. He is so great in every role I've ever seen him in, and I think this might be potentially the best role I've ever seen him in as Joel. I felt like he really elevated the material, and the material itself already was phenomenal in its own right, and giving Joel a bit more nuance as this complicated character dealing with so much emotion and guilt bubbling underneath the surface. We even see some of that rage firsthand when that sequence towards the end when he beats up that security guy emulates when he lost his daughter and he just loses it and just wails on the guy. Also, Bella Ramsey's portrayal of Ellie so far, I think is fantastic. I think it is so unfair that they've gotten so much criticism just being cast in the role. And as much as I love Pedro Pascal, I really feel like Bella Ramsey is the heart of the show so far. Bella, I feel, embodies Ellie from the games, this young, wisecracking, bright kid with a lot riding on her shoulders and giving Joel a purpose in life after the loss of his daughter. I mean, sure, she did try to stab Joel immediately when they first meet one another, but we are building towards that chemistry later down the line, trust me. Of course, we have so many episodes to go in season 1, but the chemistry alone in this first episode between Bella and Pedro, it's electric, and I'm excited to see it continue to flourish as we go deeper into the story because it's only going to get better as the episodes progress and we go through all the different seasons and all the craziness that happens over the course of it. Honestly, I could ramble on and on about all the things that I loved about this as a big fan of the video game. Other things that I hadn't brought up yet, like the composing of the music, the score. It's gorgeous, which isn't a huge shock. It's literally the exact same composer of the video game, so of course it's going to sound just as good as the video games. I'm truly just blown away at just how amazing just this very first episode is. As a big fan of the video games, I think it blew away my expectations, even though I knew it was probably going to be pretty great going in. And I think it does have that potential here to be the next big thing on HBO, because it is such a beautiful, emotional story that does have some exciting twists and turns. While even going into this as someone who isn't familiar with the games, I think you're going to be very impressed by all the things you're going to see over the course of the season. You think it's crazy now, it's going to get a lot wilder as the story progresses through all the different seasons in the first season. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. What do you think of this very first episode of HBO's The Last of Us? Did you like the first episode? Did you not like the first episode? Are you going into this as a fan of the video games, or are you going into this not having played the video games? Because that's kind of one of the things I'm curious about. How are people going to receive this if you haven't played the video games versus the fans of the video games? I'm very curious how everyone's going to react to the show in general. That's one of the things I'm most excited about. But either way, thank you guys so much for checking the videos. I always do appreciate it. Make sure you like on the video and also subscribe to the channel so there's updated reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. Next time, see you guys later.